Wrestling Podcast. And his name is John Cena.
Guess what?
What?
We are living in the future, but also the current, because it's Friday, October 7th.
Oh, shit.
We're getting close. It's like Back to the Future month, usually October, because like that date falls in there. Yeah.
Usually.
October 7th, 2016, On the Heels Wrestling Podcast is the name of this whole thing. I'm Kyle.
I'm Ray.
I'm Brittany.
Yeah, we are three former coworkers who were forcibly separated due to all our pro wrestling talk. They're like, fuck it, we're burning this company down.
They're like, those guys won't fucking shut up.
Yeah.
Burn this company to the
We could have
ground.
made
Burn
something.
this motherfucker.
Instead, they make the podcast. But we kept the podcast going because of our love for pro wrestling. And now there are definitely no more confused looks.
Because those guys are fired.
Yeah.
Damn.
Tell me how you really feel, right?
Yeah.
So this podcast is about giving you consistent bite-sized commentary on the world of professional wrestling. We focus primarily on WWE's ever-expanding roster. Sometimes we touch on NXT, sometimes we touch on indies, and sometimes we touch on the international scene.
Every week we'll either recap stuff or hold discussions on stuff. This week we're discussing stuff, specifically the CWC.
Yeah, and not what's on the notes
Yeah,
here.
and we are not talking about the UFC debut of CM Punk or Dean Ambrose. You fucked up.
Hey, you fucked up. You fucked
We are
up.
now into the meat, as the script
That's
says.
meat.
So, yeah,
That meat.
we're going to officially set the scene. That's
Okay.
the directive.
So the whole point of the CWC is that WWE wises up and realizes that there's other promotions, and maybe that all of these other wrestlers who already know what they're doing, if they just handpick them and put them on the show, they'll get people to sign for the network.
Yeah.
So the NXT bosses roam the world, and they handpick cruiserweights that aren't under contract or aren't currently on Lucha Underground. The thing I really like about CWC is there wasn't a ton of story. It was purely like just wrestling. Like the story you would see would be a small promo, some entrance music, someone would come out, and then there'd be the handshake, a lot like in Ring of Honor, where you just got the guy standing there, they shake hands, maybe they don't shake hands, who knows what's going to happen. And on top of that, every single match was fucking incredible. Some way better than the others, right?
Yeah, like part of the ritual sometimes of wrestling is like I could throw it on, almost like baseball, and do other shit.
Yeah.
Not CWC.
Like I can cook dinner and
I had
watch
to fucking watch, or I would miss a thing.
Yeah.
And
Which is cool.
Yeah, and it's like, I remember you kind of fell behind a little bit, and you're like, okay, yeah, I'll just put it on in the background on like episode
And
2,
you're
and you're
like,
like,
you
yeah, I
can't.
can't do that.
Yeah.
And it's,
And
there's
so
too
it's
much wrestling to watch.
Like, to that point, I fell way behind because of all our other real life stuff going on, and I watched pretty much all the CWC in the last day.
Yeah.
Yeah, so Kyle's fresh.
Yeah, super fresh, and also kind of wrestling down a little bit. But
So-
it was awesome.
So they took 32 wrestlers from 16 different countries.
Which was awesome.
Yeah. I mean, we saw people from China. We saw people from Scotland, from like...
Multiple luchadors.
Yeah, multiple
India.
CMLs.
Bollywood
India.
Bros.
Yes.
Yeah, Bollywood Bros. Yeah, we saw everything. The ones, the notable missing people we that got hurt. Remember Ospreay
Ospreay.
and
Ricochet also was
Ricochet.
there.
Yeah,
He's on Lucha Underground now, so.
And yeah, Brittany made a great point. When you have a month of playing your matches, they all turn out pretty good.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, and that was sort of one of the things, right? Because they did this very similar to NXT, where they pre-filmed it and whatnot.
yeah.
And they did it at NXT.
And they did it at the NXT crowd.
Yeah, full
which
sale.
you have a hot crowd who's into wrestling. These people go to the shows every single week, so they're excited. Like, you are set up for success. There's no way they're gonna fuck this up.
Yeah,
Yep.
that's super
So,
cool.
round 1.
Yep.
Yes, the notable moments.
Notable
So for me, I hadn't seen most of these people wrestle before at all, except for like Tajiri.
Yes.
So I heard about Ibushi's fucking awesome. He goes out there, and I was like, yeah, lives up to the hype. Holy crap!
He was so tall.
Those kicks.
So if you follow New Japan, like you know about Shinsuke Nakamura, but then like if you know about the matches of Shinsuke Nakamura, you probably saw Ibushi, and this dude is fucking rad. And I was like, yeah, he's gonna win. And oh my god, if they sign him, oh my
Literally,
god.
everyone thought he was going to win.
Yeah.
And the way that they were marketing it before this whole thing started, like you go to the Cruiserweight page on WWE.com, and there's fucking Ibushi's face, and you scroll down, oh yeah, and there's 31 other guys here.
Yeah.
And they kept talking about him being the
smart.
presumptive favorite and stuff too.
Yeah,
which is
he
cool.
was
Multiple times.
and it's reasonably so because he has an insane arsenal of like he can go technical, he can go submissive, there's submissions, he can go like a number of things, and he's just really easy to work with.
So yeah, when we'll get to his cooler, well, I mean all his matches were awesome, but like the later ones, you can talk about some specific things.
Yeah,
We
the
zoom
early
through
ones
the
I
first
think
round
he was
here.
he was paired against some pretty easy opponents.
Yeah.
Just to get him through the stuff that like he really wanted to do. Damac. I was a little disappointed with.
Yeah.
He kind of just came off as the Michael Jackson character, and we already have Shinsuke.
His butt said hot and spicy.
Spicy.
So there's that. Oh, it's only second to Anthony Bennett's afro.
Oh my god.
That thing.
And
That was...
his afro had its own personal glasses.
Yes.
Yeah,
I
double
love
glasses.
that. It was just like a silly little thing, but I like that that's your gimmick.
I like how he said, I'm 5'6". My hair is 5'10". Pretty good.
Just fully commit.
So
we also got to see Chidiri.
Yes.
And
happy to see him.
Dude, he's 43.
Yeah.
46, they say.
Oh, I'm sorry, 46.
He's like nearing Undertaker status.
Yeah,
Except he could still get around.
Yeah.
because you know what, he
Hasn't
switched.
stopped.
He switched up his style a lot,
Yeah.
so he's a lot more more ring psychology. Like he was using the ropes to do submissions. Like he was walking through like an arm bar through the ropes to get out of it.
He was doing a lot of the same stuff that Brian Kendrick did.
Yeah. They were the
and I'm
old
getting
man
a little
heels.
ahead of myself.
Yeah.
Like you see the guys who have been doing this for a really long time, and then you see the guys who are still relatively new comparatively to the industry, and you can see a difference in wrestling.
Yeah.
Where someone making use of the ring versus someone just being present in the ring.
Yes.
Tommy Nice, fucking Jack.
Dude,
Drifter clone? Question mark?
Yeah.
It's like the Drifter meets Neville.
That's what I was gonna say. Yeah.
So good. So Drifter was like, well, we said something like it was like Rollins on roids, just like Drifter, right?
What the fuck happened to the Drifter?
He's still performing.
He's probably on NXT and we just don't watch
Or
it
on
anymore.
a train.
Drifting.
Drifting.
Just singing a song.
Other highlights.
King of Strum style.
Nice.
Thanks, Mary Grande.
Fucking distracted me.
Yeah.
Swans standing 450. Holy
Holy shit!
Like, and he does a little like jump.
Yeah,
every
he does
time,
get-
And I'm like, what is he? Oh my god! Oh my god! He could have died.
Yeah, he basically he acts like the ring is a trampoline.
It's like zero momentum. Like the man broke physics.
Yeah, it's
How
awesome.
the fuck did he do
You
that?
see his whole body tense up when he starts to jump, and then boom.
So Eichner, I think I say that one. Cesaro 2.0. This is how I thought of him.
Yeah.
And they kind of said as much. And he had like this double springboard moonsault that was just fucking ridiculous.
Yeah, lots of height.
Yeah. Oh man. And then Gallagher.
My favorite to win. I was like, if Bushi is a smart pick to win, I was like, I want Gallagher to win. If you want to talk about like my favorite style of wrestling, there it is.
There's a sequence. I think it's in the second match. I don't know if I put a note for it or not. But in his second match, he's got against Tozawa, he's got him in a toe hold, and then he just starts waving at him.
Yeah. Oh my god.
Hilarious.
Yeah, I think like whatever it was in the second round, like that's when Gallagher came into his own.
Yeah.
Like he was just kind of like a guy with a funky mustache in the first
And
round, but in the second
only-
round he
noticeable
really played
music.
into the character.
Yeah.
And I thought it wasn't going to be as exciting, or I was going to be bored by it because I've seen the vaudevillains so much.
Yeah.
And I'm like, we see that old timey like kind of gimmick, but it was still so very different.
Yeah.
And
He didn't
I
act
really
like
liked
he'd
it.
been yanked out of a time machine.
He just
was
acts like
that.
Yeah, no, he's just
Like he's a classy
proper.
gentleman.
That's his whole act.
Who just happens.
So
to have
I
a
feel like
mustache.
the undisputed best match and moment of the first round.
Best match of the first round.
Gargano
Yeah.
Ciampa.
Oh
Yeah.
my god.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That holy shit, that match was ridiculous.
And I like it because I think it was the last one.
Yes, it was.
In the first round.
Yeah.
So they built up to it.
Yep.
And this is a testament to those two guys like wrestling together.
Yeah.
Because they know how each other move.
Yeah.
Right? And as
That
we've
was the
seen
only
with
match of the like true storytelling. Like that part where like
Yeah.
Ciampa like takes the knee brace off and then puts it back on because he doesn't want to do that move, and then it kind of
Yeah, there was a moment where he's like, fuck it, and he just does it again, and I'm like, oh, that's like great storytelling.
And this was before Gargano had gotten married.
Yeah.
So if
Yeah.
you're following along kind of the whole like Glorious Bomb stuff and
Yeah,
you know
the
that
Twitters.
Gargano's gonna go and get married, it's like Ciampa's in his wedding.
Yeah.
Like how I know it's like a different character versus reality and stuff, but at the same time I'm like, dude, like,
Yeah, and
you're gonna fuck this up.
yep.
yeah. So Do you remember back when The Rock came back and CM Punk was fighting him?
Yeah.
And then CM Punk gives him the go to sleep, and then
Yeah.
The Rock did the fish out of water thing?
Yeah.
Gargano had the glassy eye look there.
Yeah.
That was fucking, like, on point with that in terms of selling, like, just being out of it. And then he
Yeah.
still does that amazing, counter to win the match.
Yeah.
And
Oh.
then they have the attempted friendship, respect, handshake, hug, then botched, and then, like, a sitting...
Yeah,
extra
it was
special
like,
friendship hug.
that felt
It's like,
awesome.
oh.
Like, it was like, if they would have just hugged it out, whatever.
It would have been cheaper.
Yeah, but he was like frustrated. I
Yeah.
didn't want to lose. Fuck this.
But I'm
And
so proud of you.
yeah, and it was
Yeah.
like, that felt great.
Yeah,
I
Ciampa
think
is
honestly,
psycho killer.
honestly, of all of them, like the only other one that could have potentially done some storytelling was Rich Swann.
Mm-hmm.
I think Gargano and Ciampa basically play to the fact that they perform in that arena, they know that audience, and they're already established characters, and that is what allowed them to kind of have that best match because no one else was competing, everyone else was unestablished in this universe.
So yeah, that closed out round one.
Round two.
Round two. At that point, I basically had notes for almost every single match. It was crazy. But Grand Metalik like really grew on me.
Yeah.
Like I liked him. I liked then his ring attire kept changing, and then his moves. He like uses the middle rope way more than pretty much everyone else.
Anybody.
And
Yeah,
he's
they either
just
use the
fucking
top
awesome.
or they
Yeah.
don't.
And he uses it like in a bunch of different
And
weird
I like
risky
the
ways.
little walk around the
Yeah.
corner.
Yeah, he flips around.
I think I maybe saw him sort of botch one thing. Maybe that's
Yeah.
it. Like he was flawless.
Yeah.
Considering what he tried, holy crap!
Yeah.
Like, props to that guy.
Yeah, I'm happy he's signed.
Yeah. And so when I saw that, that was the only one I had a slight spoiler that I knew he was signed, just because I'm watching this like much after the fact. And like the initial loading screen of the network will show you some stuff.
Yeah.
And I saw like a summary thing that talked about him on NXT.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay. But then when I saw he was against Tajiri, it's like, oh, I figured Tajiri's there to lose at some point.
Yeah.
Tajiri's there to get the new guy over.
Yeah. So and they did a great
Doing
job
his
with
duty.
that. So
Yeah.
And that finisher he has, it's like that sort of weird Michinoku drivery kind of thing.
Yeah. Oh my
It's
god.
He hits it. It's like a mix of like that and a brain buster kind of put together.
Yes.
Yeah.
Super cool.
Ibushi, Alexander.
That match was fucking
I feel like that was of round two my favorite match. I mean, like, don't get me wrong, Gallagher Tozawa was. I mean, I love Gallagher, but that match, fuck, man, I did not expect Alexander to like have that match with Ibushi.
I didn't either, and I think maybe.
Yeah.
I don't think he was expecting that match, and then it just kind of played out the way it did, where he ends up having the match of his career.
That was.
And part of me wants to believe that like Triple H coming out was not planned, and
Yeah.
then that was the match that actually got him signed.
I would have mostly agree with that. Like, I think that Triple H wasn't planned. He had that look that kind of was like, all right, cool, I got to move on with the show now. Kind of
Yeah.
look at his
I
face, like,
think
get him the fuck off the stage. But
I want to believe that was not planned. I
Yeah,
want to believe
yeah.
that.
I
I don't
wanna
know if
believe
it was, but
that moment with Triple H was awesome. Like, Alexander crying in the ring after the kickouts because, like, he's both, like, happy the match is happening, but also, like, it was just nuts. That match was crazy.
Yeah,
and then that finisher Ibushi has is fucking ridiculous. So
Oh, where he lifts him up by the trunks.
golden-
yeah, oh yeah,
Oh
yeah.
my god! And
Yeah.
It's like his trunks are going to rip.
That's all I'm saying. Tozawa Gallagher surprised me.
Yeah.
Like at that point, once I got in once I got in on that, I'm like, I could see him going one more round. I didn't think he was gonna win, but I
Yeah.
thought I'd go another round, and Tozawa kind of wasn't really doing it for me.
Yeah.
I
I like Tozawa.
mean, they're all good, but at
Yeah.
some point, that's the thing is, once you get to the Sweet 16, someone's gonna lose.
I think this one surprised me because this was right around the time that Raw started advertising that the
Yeah,
Cruiserweights
and
are
they
coming
started
out,
showing Gallagher.
and they start showing Gallagher in either in the audience or in the promotional material.
And so I thought he went out. I was going
I
out.
thought he was going to go like way until the end because it's like, why would you just have this guy leave? And who knows? He may still.
I didn't notice these things and didn't have to worry about that.
Yeah. But yeah, no, Tozawa has that basically deadlift German.
Yeah.
Is
and it's
and he-
fast.
yeah.
He's really good
It's
at it.
fucking
I
fast.
mean,
it's like you
he's
blink
awesome.
and you miss it.
Yeah.
So Kendrick beats Nice.
Yep.
This was my favorite match of the
Yeah.
second.
That was
that
really
was good.
surprising. Kendrick was really good at being the old dirty bastard.
Sorry.
Nice probably put on 10 pounds between that match and the last match.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
like that it's like, okay, everyone's under 205 except Tony Nese.
Yeah.
Like, we're just going to let that slide.
Yeah,
because we need at
he's-
least. Vince McMahon needs one big dude in this
Yeah,
to let this slide.
yeah, pretty much.
I loved this match, I think, in particular, because the episode it was on every other match prior to it, I think it was like there was one with Zack Sabre Jr. And a couple other guys, but they were all technical matches, and it was a technical guy versus a technical guy. And this was the one match that didn't have two technical guys, so it separated itself from even just the rest of the show.
Yeah.
And I was just kind of sitting there like, even though I have an appreciation for technical wrestling, and I love watching Zack Sabre Jr. do his shit, and I love hearing Daniel Bryan lose his goddamn mind.
Yeah.
Every time he does.
That was the best. They would have synchronized yelling of moves sometimes because him and Rao were so excited. There was a couple that would be like springboard moonsault. They both say it at the same time.
In stereo. Yeah, he said in stereo like a million times because they were both very excited.
I don't think we've actually talked about the announcing.
We haven't.
Yeah, so I'm gonna put a pause.
I referenced it.
Yeah, I'm gonna put a pause on us
podcast.
talking about this. Like, let's actually talk about how good the announcing for this was.
They had great flow together. They had they had the enthusiasm, but then they also played off each other. There's a moment when one of the Bollywood guys was there, and Ronaldo was talking about, that's where I met you and this guy, and then Danny Bryan says, I don't remember meeting you. I definitely remember meeting him. Made me laugh because Danny Bryan usually doesn't make digs at people, but it was hilarious.
it was nice, and it was also Ronaldo, man, he knows.
He's so good.
Like for me, was not only did he know each of the moves, but he knew the history of all the wrestlers really well.
He knows the product.
Yeah, it was really awesome.
Good.
And then Daniel Bryan just loved for wrestling.
The fact that Daniel Bryan was not in that meant that he was the best choice for the announcer.
Yeah.
And it was like a kid in a candy store because these are all people he knew.
Yeah.
Half of these people he's wrestled with, if not more. Mm-hmm. These are all the people he's following in the industry.
Yeah.
So he's talking, and the whole Daniel Bryan and Brian Kendrick storyline. Yeah. Fantastic.
Yeah.
And he would also say things like, if I could still wrestle, I'd wrestle this guy or that,
whatever.
Yeah. And but it didn't seem better. It was just like he appreciated them so much.
Yeah,
right?
when he saw Gallagher do his running drop kick, because that's his finishing move, right? Running drop kick to the corner, he's like, that is way better than my running drop kick.
So
he's
good.
Like, I would finish people off with that drop kick. Like, so yeah, I mean, it does add something because it's like, you know, we watch these things and we're really excited, and like sometimes the announcers on Raw and SmackDown, like it's kind of, I don't want to say it's phoned in. There's like a level of excitement, but it's for the wrong thing.
Michael Cole has the same level of excitement every week. Yeah. Hearing Daniel Bryan do what he did was refreshing.
Yes.
Well, they also have their very sort of segmented roles, right? Whereas Daniel Bryan and Manow had just such good chemistry immediately. Yeah. That you just notice that, right? Yeah. And you get on Raw now. Corey Graves does a good job making fun of Byron, and then they both work well with Cole. That's a way better arrangement than JBL. Right.
Right. JBL was just obtrusive,
and that's just sort of objectively good. Whereas this is it's like if you're playing a game and there's passive buffs with certain characters together. These two announcers, they just have super good symmetry.
Yeah.
So
for sure.
I will jump right back in here. Swan defeats Dorado.
I love me some Swan.
Yeah, he's just great. This match was really good, but that was cool. At some point, it's like eating cake all the time. Mm-hmm. Yeah. It tastes super awesome, but you don't remember every single bite. And that was that match. It probably was fine, but
he has really good there are a few wrestlers that have really good reaction with the audience, back and forth. Yeah. And he knows how to just play it. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Because they chant the whole "Can you handle it?"
Can you handle it?
But he doesn't.
And then he gets the all night long in the middle of the match, and I was like, I love this.
Yeah, but he doesn't he doesn't just stop what he's doing to do. He just picks the right moment to I see.
He flows into it.
Yeah, just real quick, just
yes. And I like the little wings on his trunks. Just the little things.
Yeah. So pretty. Tell us about Sabre Jr. Because we haven't dwelled on him enough.
Okay. Yeah. Sabre Jr. He was my pick to win the whole thing. Yeah. And partly because the first time I had seen him was at this past WrestleMania, and I talked about this on one of the previous podcasts, where 2 of the 3 best matches I saw had him in them. Right. Yeah. It was fucking insane. The thing that bugs me about Sabre Jr. is that he's in shape, but I feel like he's in shape only because he wrestles so much. He doesn't hit the gym and he doesn't give a shit about his diet. Right. Because he looks kind of like a twig.
Yes.
And it kind of just I feel bad being super judgmental of someone's looks, but at the same time I'm this doesn't feel right
Yeah.
Like it feels like it's kind of one of those like it comes naturally to him.
Yeah.
And maybe he's just not working for it as much as he could be. And who knows? Like I'm just kind of saying like what's coming
It's kind of like the opposite side of Joe, Samoa Joe.
Yeah.
Like where it's like Joe has a really weird frame, but like he's the shit. He's awesome, but he doesn't look like every other wrestler.
So now combine that and like that almost weird like cognitive dissonance to get looking at this man with how weird his fucking moves are, but also effective, and it's like this really awesome experience watching him do his shit.
Every move he does, there's little fucking details. The devil in the details. Like he does.
And these announcers are good enough to pick that up.
Oh my god! Thank God.
Just like I've never even seen that before.
Why is he doing it with the fingers? He's doing it with the fingers. Like he's like calling it out. He's like he's doing armbar with the fingers. I don't like this.
So in this specific match against Gulak, like he does this fucking ridiculous pin to win the match, and I'm like, what is happening?
I think the one thing that sucked about Sabre Jr. being in this tournament is that his matches were definitely like you finish watching a match with Brian Kendrick and you're just like, oh my god, this is amazing. You finish watching a match with Grand Metalik and you're like, holy crap, this guy's insane. With Sabre Jr., you're like sitting there as if it's like the fourth quarter of a football game.
Yeah,
and
you're
just
watching.
silently just watching.
Yeah.
And it kind of almost kills the excitement a little bit.
Yeah.
Because you're done with all these big moments that we're typically used to seeing in wrestling. So it's really only the hardcore fans truly, I think, appreciate Sabre Jr.
Yeah.
Perkins, TJ Perkins defeats Gargano, and I was in shock. Of all the moments that shocked me.
This is the one that shocked me.
Yes.
Yeah, I was like, TJ Perkins putting on...
Until we get to later.
Yeah, until we get to later.
Well,
But, like, TJ Perkins has put on a great match on the first round, and I was totally happy that he went up.
Mm-hmm.
Gargano is fighting his ass off. Like, Gargano is like...
I also liked the timing of the taping because it was after, what was it, after Brooklyn?
Yeah.
So they played up Gargano's knee, even though I think this was pre-recorded to Brooklyn.
Yeah, it was
kind of really weird. On
Perkins?
top of that, I just had a really hard time with Perkins because I watched him at WrestleMania and he was a fucking heel.
Yeah.
Like, he was such a heel at WrestleMania. And
Yeah.
here he's a face. I'm like, oh, okay. This is interesting. And I was really sad because, like, Gargano had such a good match. I'm like, I thought that if it wasn't going to be Sabre Jr. and it wasn't going to be Ibushi, it was going to be a homegrown guy. And even though Gargano isn't technically homegrown, he is an NXT dude.
Mm-hmm.
And to see him lose, I was kind of like, well, I don't actually know what's going to happen anymore.
So this is the point in the tournament where the crowd started to turn on Perkins, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Like, they were pretty much on board with Perkins. Like, he's doing cool shit. Everyone loves it. Then he beats Gargano. And then the entire rest of the tournament, they just shit all over Perkins during these matches. And it was like, man, you knew at some point the crowd was going to become the Full Sail crowd. And it was really disappointing because they were doing so good. Like, I was so proud of them. And then all of a sudden, they just forgot they were watching good wrestling.
Yeah.
And they started acting like assholes. Like, I mean, I guess I'm proud that they found a way to not do, like, hey, we want some Bailey chants during the main event, I guess.
Chant for CM Punk.
Yeah.
The Full Sail crowd doesn't do that. But, you know.
No, they're above that.
Anyways, that is my only thing. Like, that really pissed me off because Perkins was putting on great performances.
Yes.
And the crowd just, they sucked. They were good for most of the tournament, and then they returned to being the Full Sail crowd. And everyone hates them for a reason.
Perkins, like, pretty much surprised me every round after that first round. Just because I always thought he was going to be, like, the guy who put on the Ziggler performance and do a great match and then just go ahead and lose. And so then he kept winning, and at some point I'm like, well, shit, he's got this momentum now.
Yeah.
He might just fucking win this thing. And then it was weird. That's the only, like, I'll admit to shitty wrestling fan brain, because once it got to the Final Four, I was like, oh, he's winning. Like, he's the most marketable of this four. Like, fitting their storyline.
Let's keep talking about the matches, and then we'll kind of go back to this a little bit.
I was agreeing with you on the Gargano thing, so it's weird. Like, Perkins just keeps showing up.
It's like, why does Perkins keep winning? Why?
Once you whittle it down enough, you got enough shot as anybody else, right?
Yeah.
So round 3, here we go.
Okay. So we have Metalik versus Tozawa. I knew Metalik was going to win, but I really like Tozawa.
At this point, I'm all in on Tozawa.
Yeah.
Like, it took me the first 2 rounds for me to really get behind him.
Yeah.
And at this point, I was sad to see him lose.
Yeah.
Especially with that German and how quick he does it.
Yeah, I don't know. I was just getting to grips with, like, man, I want Metallic to go fucking whole way.
Yeah, because
but it was like, oh, the luchador mask, they won't let him in.
Yeah, Metalik, like, to me, was like, a classic example of like what a luchador is, and I was
Yes.
like, I was like, Metal League's going definitely to the finals against who I had no idea, but I was like, he is like the classic example of what we thought a cruiserweight was back in the 90s.
Well, and they kept playing it up that he came from like the first promotion
Yeah.
ever, right? Like
Yeah,
he has history. Like
Yeah.
that is why they want him.
Yeah, they kept playing up CMLL like really hard. They
Really hard.
even to the point where they eclipsed WWE. They were like, this is the oldest living promotion in the world.
Yep.
Like,
Yeah.
WWE never does that. They
Yeah.
never like take
They've
a
been
back
doing a lot
seat.
of things in the last year they never
Still
did.
the network's safe, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, so here's the
The TV crowds.
Right.
It doesn't actually happen.
the point where I made some comment. I don't know if it was last podcast or before recording or whatever, but it was like this was so good that it made me forget that wrestling's fake, and it felt more like a sport. And this was one of those moments because I'd be thinking about the bracket, and I'd say, you know, how sometimes in other tournaments you'll have like a second round matchup that people say, oh, this should have been the championship.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, like this division was stronger, seeding,
Right,
whatever.
right, yeah.
Right.
That like the Ibushi Alexander was kind of like that, and this was another one of those where it's like, oh man, it's a shame for both of these two that they have to meet now.
Why
does
why don't they meet at the
lose?
end?
Yeah.
Like, I would have totally accepted this as the final match.
Well, and no,
I'm
and,
happy.
and like basically
Like, both
all
of
of
them.
these,
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah, I would. If this was the final, I'd be like, dude, Mexican luchador versus a Japanese style wrestling, like, that's awesome.
Yeah, I remember reading the bracket and realizing that Brian Kendrick was going up against Ibushi. I'm like, oh no.
Oh no.
Yeah.
Like, both of these guys are great.
Yeah.
And at this point, I still think Ibushi's going to win the whole thing.
Yeah.
Because of marketing and all that bullshit. And I'm like, fuck, this sucks.
I just like since I didn't see any of that stuff, I just like this guy's like a fucking freight train, and all these moves are being hit on him, and he's kicking out of everybody's shit. Like he just seems too good.
And Kendrick keeps bringing new shit every match,
Yeah.
too. And he keeps using the ring in different ways, like using the ring apron, using the rope, using the turnbuckle, like doing all of these really interesting things to keep it fresh.
Yeah.
Which is good because like Ibushi has his like move set,
Yeah.
as all wrestlers do. But you know that his moves are going to get progressively stronger and stronger,
Yeah.
and then it just happens, right? Sabre Jr. defeats Noam Dar.
Well, let's talk about the little lovey-dovey.
Oh,
that's
yeah.
right. Like Dan O'Brien comes
I
out.
thought it was his last match after that. Like,
Yeah.
I was like, oh my god,
Because
like.
they kept telling it like this is a Cinderella story, like
Yeah.
this is his one last chance, like he doesn't know when he's going to do it again. He fucked up before. This is his chance for redemption. I'm
Yeah.
like, if he wins the title, he's going to go on Raw.
Yeah.
Like I didn't think that. Oh yeah, they would sign him because they need a whole division.
Yeah.
Because I was in this like fairy
Right.
tale world of wrestling.
Yeah. I also, like.
It's like Shane McMahon's supposed to be in jail and dead right now, not running SmackDown because
Yeah.
he lost the Undertaker. But
Right.
Yeah. And mind you, by round three,
Wrestling is cool.
yeah,
by the
It's-
time
it's
round
good.
round three is up, we
I'll
just
podcast
found
about
out that there was going to be a cruiserweight division on Raw because we didn't know that at first.
That's right.
Like we
Oh really?
yeah, we didn't know from the beginning
Yeah, my
of the
timeline's all
CWC.
hazy.
Yeah,
No, they didn't mention at the beginning of CWC, but by the time round 2 started, they had mentioned it.
Yeah.
Yeah, so they were like, oh yeah, and there's going to be a division on Raw, and it was like, wait, what? Like, because we just thought this was like a singular tournament that was going to just be, that was it.
An
That's funny
annual
because they
tournament.
had
An annual tournament, yeah.
Because they had the trophy, but then they also had the belt, which
Yeah.
is cool.
Well, and the belt was a surprise.
Yeah,
We're
that
getting
was-
ahead of ourselves. We're getting
Yeah,
ahead of
yeah, yeah.
ourselves.
So yeah,
Sabre
Sabre Jr.
defeats
wins. That match was just all about the ridiculous counters that they were
counter
That was
submissions, counter submissions,
That was
back and forth.
so good.
It was great.
And then
round 4.
And then Perkins quickly beat Swan in their match.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And that was like, I fully thought Swan was gonna win again. I was like, TJ Perkins wins again? Like, what the fuck?
I was expecting a heel turn from Perkins halfway through the division because he was just kept taking out all of the fan favorites.
Yeah.
And I'm like, this is kind of a weird booking. Like, and it never once dawns on me that he could potentially win this thing.
No.
So we get to
again,
round 4.
It keeps going.
Which is fucking crazy, right? You
Yeah.
have Perkins versus Ibushi and Metalik versus Sabre Jr. And I'm like, oh, great. It's going to be Ibushi, Sabre Jr. We all predicted this.
Yeah.
And then...
Not even one
No,
of
like,
those two.
Yeah.
holy shit. Like, you have Perkins
Yeah.
and Metalik.
Yep.
How does this even work? Like,
Yeah. Everybody was shocked.
everybody was shocked. It was insane. And, oh my god.
So yeah, that Perkins Ibushi match, like holy crap,
Yeah. It was.
That was
so
the one
good.
that I was like,
that blew my
okay,
mind.
Perkins could win this.
Yeah.
Like,
When he
I was
kicked
kind of
out
like
of that-
questioning it the whole time, but once he like kicked out of that,
Kicks out of the golden bomb. I'm like, oh fuck.
I was alone in my apartment and I yelled out, "He beat Ibushi!" Like,
the dog got scared.
yeah, my dog was like, "What the fuck's going
The
on?"
dog actively ran into his
Wow.
crate. the grade that he is.
Yeah, so like that one was the crazier one because it's just like, man, that's one of those ones where it's hard not to go into sort of smart wrestling fan mode because you're just like Ibushi's just better
Ridiculous,
and
yeah.
crazy.
Yeah.
But like there's some reason Perkins is still okay, but just not better than Ibushi. Whereas with Metalik versus Saber, like the style clash is so strong that you can make a case for either one winning. So it's easier to stay in the kayfabe a little
And
bit.
I love how Metalik starts the match by just jumping
running
up,
at it.
running
Oh my
right
god,
at
it
him.
was awesome.
And it was funny because the announcers picked up on it and they're like, yeah, Saber Jr., because he's slow and technical, the longer this match is, the more it favors him.
Yeah, and
So Metalik's like, I gotta get this guy fast. I'm like, that is so brilliant.
Yeah.
They don't fucking do this shit.
yeah.
Oh my god. So finals happen.
Yes.
Yeah.
So they start doing the announcing, they do the trophy, and then Triple H's music fucking hits.
Yeah.
And he comes out like, hey, by the way, check out the cool belt, guys.
Yeah, I was like, oh,
and the belt looks sick.
Because that was the
Very
thing too. Was
distinct.
I didn't think they were gonna show the belt like at the end of the tournament. I thought it was gonna be something they do on Raw. Like, okay,
Yeah, they
you're
start the division, and now they're gonna compete for the belt. Like,
Yeah,
the
that's
fact
what I
that
thought it
Perkins
was.
wins it, goes to Raw, and now is immediately defending it.
yeah.
I think is kind of cool because
It's
it carries
great.
on like the significance of it. So I started questioning in my mind, like, well, who's the winner of next year's tournament? What do they do? Like, do they win a #1 contendership?
I imagine, yeah.
Like, do like the top 4 guys get contracts? Like,
definitely probably giving up the trophy, kind of like the Andre
yeah,
the
the
Giant
trophy's
thing.
gonna be like an annual thing.
Yeah.
Except this.
But
trophy
yeah,
will-
I would imagine it's got to be a shot at. They'll line it up to maybe be before SummerSlam or something like that to feed into a thing. you
Right.
know?
I think I really like TJ Perkins' ring gear.
Yeah.
Because it speaks to his character with the
Yeah.
whole like kind of hip hop-ish dab thing going on.
Yeah.
But it's also like the Filipino flag.
Yeah.
So it kind of
Yeah.
ties in the whole heritage thing
Yeah,
of it,
yeah.
which he talks about.
Yeah.
well,
so it's,
also looking like Mega Man-y enough to be a
yeah.
video game
So
character.
it's like he's like 3 characters in one,
Yeah.
but it's not in a way that like Andre Adonis is.
Yeah.
It's a way that works because it's just a little bit from here and a little bit from here into a mix that is unique to him.
Yeah.
So one of the things I really like about not looking up wrestling shit on the internet is that all of this was a surprise for me.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because I find out later that Metalik and Perkins, it had been announced, it had been leaked or announced or something that they had been signed. So knowing that and knowing that Saber Jr. and Ibushi hadn't been signed, if I had known that going into the Final Four, I knew exactly how this was going to end,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And this is why, like, I stopped going to Squared Circle on Reddit. This is why I
Yeah.
stopped talking about wrestling news. Like, I don't look at anything unless it's already aired on TV. And even then, I still try and avoid it.
I was gonna say, and this, then those moments when you still have it happen, I'll
Like,
give you
I
shit
found
about
special plugins to, like, hide the trending shit on Facebook so
Right.
I don't get spoiled with wrestling. Because that's the part that's exciting, right?
it. Yeah, because then the deterministic thing that you were saying to me earlier was, oh, well, then you know those two are signed, they're in the finals, and you know Luchador's not gonna be the first champ.
You're
so
not going to
Perkins.
have the first champion be the guy that can't promo without a translator.
Yeah.
Like, it's just, you're trying to market this new brand, this
Yeah.
new division in your flagship show. At this point, it's like, oh, it's going to be Perkins.
Yeah.
And on top of that, I was watching this with Steve, and he had made note that he kind of had an idea that Perkins was going to win it early on because they started really playing up his promo a lot more.
Yeah.
And making sure that they mention it every time that this guy came back from this horrible, no money, living out of his car, like, and if I go back and I think about it a little bit more, I'm like, oh, yeah, no, they did play that a lot.
Yeah. Did you hear?
They're really trying to build him up.
So,
okay. I'm really glad I missed this.
But they did a pretty. They did even enough that it wasn't super obvious too, which is
Correct. Like, it was not obvious to me at all. After it was pointed out later, I'm like, oh yeah.
Again,
So-
I thought it was a legitimate tournament at times until I remembered I'm still watching pro wrestling.
Yeah, I forgot it was fake.
So fast forward before we talk about the match.
Shit, we
When
even talked about Smash.
yeah when
So we're getting close.
when Brian Kendrick was talking about TJ Perkins, he was like, oh yeah, you were homeless. So were half of the roster.
That was
Like,
kind of like the build up for the pay per view match.
yeah, he was like, so what?
Yeah.
Like, he's like, oh yeah, you were homeless.
It's
Like,
like rite of passage.
yeah, like everybody does that. Like, shut up. And I was
Yeah.
like, damn.
Yeah, it was pretty-
Yeah.
So, let's talk about that specific booking after the finals match for
Yes.
a little bit, because there's a couple things I want to say about that. But there's a couple moves I wrote down. There was this one top rope
Hurricane Rana out of the ring.
out of the ring that just
I've
blew
never
my
seen that
fucking
before,
mind.
ever.
This blew my mind. Like, he found a way to or it was by accident, whatever, where he broke his fall just enough with the top rope to then do the Hurricane Rana.
Yeah.
Holy shit.
It was-
My goodness.
Oh my god.
That can go wrong so many ways.
I completely forgot about this till now, but like TJ Perkins had taken a really, really hard slap during his match with Ibushi.
Mhm.
So during the final
Oh,
match,
yeah!
he just kept getting like progressively more and more bruised.
Yeah.
Which kind of helped the whole like, oh my god, this is actually real thing, because normally you don't see that. Like
Yeah.
they finish the match, they go off the air, but the fact that he took a really hard hit and then still had another match to get
Yeah.
through, you're starting to realize like, oh no, they actually like this is
Get hurt.
physical.
Yeah. So like
And
he
it
was,
goes
a lot of
into that a
strong
little
style
bit.
Yeah.
kind of wrestlers there.
yeah.
Also, the fact that he pretty much can counter anything into his finisher.
Yeah, I
It's
love
pretty
it.
crazy.
Yeah, it's pretty awesome. Like,
Like
it's,
he could be in the middle getting power bombed, and then he ends up in his finisher. Like,
yeah, because it's just it's really funny. It's like a simple knee bar.
Yeah.
But it's like it's really easy to pull off like from
Yeah.
anything.
You
like
don't need something crazy. Hulk
Yeah,
Hogan had
yeah.
an elbow drop.
Yeah.
Like,
leg
You-
drop.
whatever.
Yeah.
I didn't watch wrestling back then.
yeah. But yeah, it's just one of those things where
It's
they
Hulk Hogan, he's redacted.
yeah.
You don't need to remember correctly.
They had an ad. You bring that up. They had an ad on the network since I've been watching wrestling for
That
the last
had
12 hours.
Hogan.
That had
Hogan.
just Hogan voiceover, no references, no
Yeah.
pictures.
It
Just,
had new Hogan
it
voiceover.
had a Hogan voiceover, so it's like they're starting to cool the ice there a little
A
bit.
little
I
bit,
guess.
yeah, it's weird.
So let's talk about. So Perkins wins. It's awesome. He's got the belt.
Yeah,
it's cool.
it was great.
So
Great
now
match.
his first match is going to be on at the pay-per-view. I feel like Kendrick was the perfect choice.
Oh
Yes.
yeah, you need a heel.
You need a heel, but you need a heel who can afford to lose because
Yeah.
you don't want this guy to get squashed
You
immediately.
need a guy who's good with an audience of 15,000 people.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
You need a guy who wants to put the younger guy over.
Yep.
And you have the story element of Brian Kendrick was the one that drove him to class.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
That's
then all the
perfect.
stuff you just brought up with like, hey, we all suffered. Like
Yeah.
it's perfect. It was
Yeah,
just really
it was
well done.
great. So
it was
like,
fantastic.
and now after the friendship, respect, handshake, hug, headbutt.
Yes.
Like now it's like, all right, give me a story. Like, and it's like
Yeah.
awesome because we haven't done that yet with this whole CWC. It's always been these short stories.
It's been a short promo and a handshake.
Yeah.
And now we get to learn a little bit about
Do you think
the range
Kendrick
of all these guys.
gets to win and then give it back up?
I don't think he gets the win. I think it's
Because it seems like that feud's going to continue, right?
Yeah,
I
yeah,
think
so-
Brian Kendrick's going to win the belt.
at some point. Yeah.
He had to deal with teaching Eva Marie how to wrestle. They owe him
The
something.
man is owed.
All right,
Yeah.
so we're going to wrap it up for this week. If you like the podcast, you can find us on Twitter at OnTheHeelsWP and on Facebook.com/OnTheHeelsWP. You can find us on podcast. We're all over the place. Like, we're on iTunes, we're on SoundCloud, we're on YouTube.
Yeah. Yeah. So subscribe to the podcast, leave comments, give us a 5-star rating on iTunes. Tell your wrestling buddies about the podcast. You message us, tweet us, tell us random wrestling stuff. Ask us our predictions.
Ask us!
Yeah. We've been asked about 13-1 Battle. We've been asked about bringing up pro wrestling stuff.
Yeah, new promotion. Local.
yeah.
I'm excited.
Yeah, and we're gonna have
That's
Bru-
tomorrow.
Yeah, tomorrow. So we've been asked our prediction on Brutal Bob Evans versus Daniel Makabe.
Shit.
So Daniel Makabe just coming back from his injury.
Mhm.
Anybody have any predictions?
So I'll be the crummy wrestling fan, one of my few cash-ins, and say, since the local talent has lost more recently to pro wrestling, I'm going to say our local guy is going to pull it out.
Yeah, I think it's gonna be. I'm gonna go with Makabe as well, but I think it's gonna be not definitive. I think he's gonna sneak in the win. It's gonna be
I didn't say anything about definitive. I'm going to hedge a little bit.
yeah.
Hey, it's pick 'em. It's not on the against
I
the
think the
spread.
ring rust is just going to affect him a little too much, and
Yeah, it's a
Bruno
little
Bob's
bit of
going to
a
bring it
worry.
back. Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, thanks for listening to On the Heels. Tune into our next episode where we'll be covering
Wrestling.
recap stuff. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wrestling.
We're going to see what's good and what's not. Maybe it'll just all be about talking smack. I don't know. But there will be
I'm
questions.
actually down with that.
Yeah.
There'll be questions, but before then, the eternal question. What is Brian Kendrick's plan?
Oh,
Because
man.
I've heard he's a man with a plan, but
He's a man
it's
with a
it's
plan.
unclear.
I think his plan is fuck the hate, ready for headbutts.
Aw. Part of me thought that